Ready to go? Yeah.
That was brilliant. We started.
That's
We
how we're gonna
started.
Oh, we started?
Yeah.
To Coprolalia. There's a podcast that says, yes, please. G'day,
to
I'm
everything.
Rye. And I make cartoons. That's my introduction. Giles.
I'm Giles, and I make the cartoons.
And I make it a love. This is a podcast.
Make
we
love
do.
for a living.
That's the dream.
It's-
Make love through my tunes into people's eyes.
Oh yeah, I getcha.
Bring on the change in the world.
Yeah, totally.
I was listening to Dynamic Banter, the podcast that inspired me to do this podcast
nice.
with me mate. And
I should check that out, to be perfectly honest.
it's a bloody riot. It just derails everything you would know about podcasts. There's no structure, which is why I'm totally comfortable with this one having no structure or form in any way, which way. And yeah, they were just talking about John Lennon and his lifelong goal was he just wanted the entire world to open mouth kiss each other.
Excellent.
That's their bit, and I'm not going to steal it, but that just made me think of it. It made me think of it, talking about all we want is for everyone to love each other.
Aw.
Oh.
I would like that, but when when you choose a goal that's just like almost completely impossible, you find that you find something that you can just do as much as possible, as much as you want and can. But right, what about if you actually achieve that goal? What's next? Once
Then you
everyone
have to-
loves each other,
Yeah,
what next?
lifelong orgy.
Yeah, something like that.
That'd be pretty good. It's probably like the curse, I guess, of someone who's optimistic or someone who has drive. It's like something that always comes to my mind is like you want. If you have drive to do something with your life, if you have not just do something, but to create something to change the world in some way,
Yeah.
then that is constantly going to be detrimental to your sanity and well-being. I think in a way,
not being able to actually achieve it.
yeah, or like it has to be almost impossible. And you just have to believe in it anyway, and you have to be that guy that is the voice of optimism, pure optimism, and everyone else is the realist around you, and they kind of bring you back down to earth.
Yeah.
But without you,
Yeah.
they would just be stuck in the dirt.
Totally. Yeah. There's a couple of different kinds of people in the world, to be general. Like some are trying to be as realistic as possible and just facing the facts. They would consider it. And you got a whole lot of other people who are working towards a better version of what's happening. There's a fair argument to say that things don't really change that much, and that progress is so gradual. We don't often always see it within our lifetime. There's a million things that to realize you would just chill back and then not worry. But I reckon there's definitely philanthropists and inventors out there who have actually shifted the course of history. And if
sure.
I don't know if we can all be that. We can't all shift the course of history, or else it'll be a random mess. But you can at least be one of the functioning cogs in a change in the world. I think even if you work at a factory or whatever, you're still probably manufacturing something that has an effect on the greater change in society.
Yeah.
And that's good enough, I think.
It's I think it's a bit looked down upon, which I think is a bad thing. It's actually kind of funny though, because like it sounds like propaganda to me.
Right.
in a way. Like, it sounds like, you'd see a poster on the wall in a factory in the 40s, and this is just total bullshit. I don't know what I'm talking about, but nonetheless. But yeah, you'd see a poster on the wall that said like, "You're important. You're an important part of the machine. Keep working, boy. You're working for Uncle Sam over there. He's the big picture guy. You're the little guy, but that's fine. Keep doing what you're doing." And so I think it gives it that kind of bad air. Like everyone wants to be the game changer. Everyone wants to be the
front
head.
man.
But that's not how it works. You can't do that. I guess that's probably a big part of growing up. Actually, is starting to see a bigger picture and see where your place is in it.
What a double-edged sword, though. Like, I mean, raise a child as if it's going to be brilliant and be the change in the world that it wants to see, but also, pull it down a little bit and say, you might not do much. And you should be emotionally ready for that reality as well. Emotionally
comfortable with it, though. I think there needs to be more focus on both. Like, say, because then there's the problem of like people get into the mindset of like, oh, we're from the working class. My parents, they were working class, and their parents were working class. We're all shit. We're all working class, and that's what we do. And then you have some kid who's like, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to be an artist, or blah blah blah. Which is now I'm talking about like people who
was that your own impression? Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, that was me.
Hi, I'm right.
Little has changed. And so the kid that does want to do something, that has got bigger dreams, that probably definitely is too optimistic for his own good, and does need to be brought down now and then. But to just say to that person, like, no, you have to do what we're doing, that's very detrimental as well.
Yeah, I agree.
There has to be a nice middle ground where it's like, okay, you're going to be that guy, you're going to be the figurehead, but perhaps I don't want to be the figurehead. I actually want to go and work as I want to be a watchmaker or a builder or a baker, or I want to walk the dogs locally.
Some of these people can be like, they can become absolute masters. If they're focused enough and aren't so easily swayed, they might become a master watchmaker, and then suddenly, like, some rapper is buying their watch and showing it off in a music video, and you're just like, yeah, that's cool. I was in a music video. My watch was like, my watch was on this rich guy's wrist.
It's like, Kanye's great. Everyone loves Kanye. There's no doubt that he's the best.
Yeah, he's in the building.
But he's a great example of like he can kind of he loves to set things in motion. He likes to have the biggest dream, but that he just not like that dream has to be brought back down to reality by some other people and then realized. And I think that's that's one of the great things about his music, is that it's just so over the top. Everything he does is just so ridiculous, and then that kind of filters down a little bit into the other guys, and it pushes everyone forward. But if everybody was Kanye, it wouldn't work,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's really the same example, but
I reckon if you took Kanye's attitude and started giving it to some other people who are I guess a little bit more humble or whatever, like you would just get more artists, more people who had the confidence to create outlandish, representations of what's in their brain and let's measure Kanye's effect on the world. What
yeah.
Like, apart from his influence in hip hop culture and stuff like that, like he is someone who's definitely convinced a few people to begin picking up music, or at least art in some way.
Yeah.
And he's broken into the fashion world as well.
Yeah.
His shoes, even though they look really weird and they make your feet look like they're like tree roots coming out of the bottom of your, like, it makes you look like you're melting into the floor.
Yeah, for sure.
But people love him.
Yeah, and it's influenced so many other designers. Like now you see that style of shoe just fucking everywhere.
Yeah, and it's weird. He probably didn't think even during his his rap career that he'd become an influential shoe brand.
Yeah.
But
maybe.
yeah,
Seems
maybe
like
that was the
guy who
plan the whole time. I
He
guess.
wanted to do everything forever.
I'd love to see a Kanye West documentary, like, not documentary, like a biopic
Oh yeah, that'd
or
be
a
sick.
biopic or whatever people would prefer it be
I
said.
don't know, biopic sounds better.
It sounds better, but it just like, yeah.
Yeah, probably not necessarily correct. If everyone had Kanye's level of ego, and not that Kanye's level of ego is even the greatest ego. I've seen people who have a much bigger.
He's
I
got,
think fucking what's his name? Fucking
My-
DJ Khaled.
my
has got a
ego's better than you.
I reckon Khaled's got a bigger ego, and he's done a lot less to deserve it.
Yeah, fuck DJ Khaled, to be honest.
But nonetheless, I don't know. Yeah, you gotta have those people who are just so over the top. You have to have the something to strive to be, and then you arrive at a more logical place. I think.
I reckon in a decade from now, when we don't really, these people aren't trending anymore or whatever,
Yeah.
there's going to be a little bit of embarrassment, I think, or at least hope. You know, when the way that capitalism is now is like is seen as the destructive causer of suffering that it is, we're going to look back at people who are just like flaunting money and expensive shit and look at them and just go, these are the people who are ruining it for everybody. Like these are the people who are just being absolutely outrageous with their wealth and like wasteful and just oppressive. God damn it. Did you, like, none of the amazing musicians in like the 60s and 70s, maybe late 70s, they started getting a little bit fucking outlandish, but like it was not about how much money you had. That was not like an impressive, amazing thing that you achieved. It was the fact that you actually had an effect on culture. It was not like, I made this amount of money, I'm a success.
I think I don't know. Capitalism's become such a. I mean, I'm really not. I don't know if I'm the right person to talk about any of this, but capitalism is definitely seems to be more showy at this point in time, with things like Instagram and stuff like that leading our lives. So everything's all about having the. I mean, I guess it's always been about having the best, biggest, nicest things, but now it's just really, a constant stream of this noise, of this rich noise.
Well, I find it really obnoxious that it affects content and creativity now. Like, I see. Once upon a time, people were making stuff because making stuff was just a lot of fun and you could achieve a lot with it. But I'm seeing a lot of, like, a certain portion of your content is going to be advertising now, and that's just like almost guaranteed with just whatever service you're using, YouTube or Netflix and stuff like that. Like Netflix doesn't have ads, but if you watch a movie by the right director or writer or whatever, you're going to see advertising throughout that movie or TV show. A lot of the time it is actually just affecting the content. When someone's creative output changes to suit a particular advertiser or product, then the content is worse off for it almost 100% of the time.
I would probably say though that that's had to exist for almost all time, as long as advertising has existed. I'm sure, like, because if we were to then, because these are the major networks that we're talking about, and I guess YouTube as well.
Look at classical art though. There's no brands.
Yeah, but there's other things going on with a lot of that. Like, some guys became famous over time, but like, same with classical musicians. Like, there was a lot to do with like class and royalty and stuff like that kind of influenced what was painted when and like
and it was people with money who paid painters to paint them or whatever. I get that. I think though, you look at most of like the magnum opuses throughout time, They are these amazingly uncompromised things, and I think as long as the struggle exists with artists, as long as artists are having are forced into this struggle to survive through making as much money as they can. Like, I don't know if you can create a magnum opus that way with a big fucking Chevrolet ad in the middle of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it'll look gross. Either aesthetically or like just, I don't know.
I guess it would come down a lot to the artists though who agreed to do it. Like some people will just do it, will just make art for the sake of it. And I would guess in our particular case, we'd be talking about like memes and stuff like that, where most of it's anonymous.
Like meme advertising is disgusting. It's not funny at all. Frustrates.
Is there meme advertising?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, right.
KFC had an ad where they were just like, check out our different burger eating styles. And it was just
but
like...
was that made by them? I'm talking about artists online who make the memes.
Oh yeah, no, but I've seen that. I've seen how memers were like hired to do ads. Like Gucci hired a whole bunch of people to do ads for their stuff. And they're just like shocking. They're like, you know, they'll take a format like the Gucci starter pack and it'll just be like actual Gucci products and you're like, no, that's not funny though. That like you don't...
Yeah, that defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
That's exact opposite of the joke that was originally made.
Yes, exactly.
Which I don't know how they don't get that. Okay, but that's like the question of selling out, and it's just kind of the question of like.
Well, I
think that would always exist for any artist in any given time period, because there's still artists now who don't do these things, and also I don't think it's inherently selling out because if you still need to survive, and I guess that's kind of the point, is that like.
Some people just have products they don't mind, you know, shilling, and that's fine, I guess. But don't like if the Garden of Earthly Delights, the painting by Hieronymus Bosch, this like 3-paneled amazing painting, had like a little McDonald's logo in the corner or whatever. Like I can't stand that idea.
Yeah, okay, I can see where you're coming from with that. And so I guess as I said though, I still think it's kind of like it's up to the artist, and you know, I'm gonna be pissed off at the artist more than the advertiser because the artist decided to do that. Not to just fucking blow smoke up Dynamic Banter's ass the entire time, but I really like how they handle their ad reads.
Right.
And they do an ad read in the middle. It's really clear that it's an ad read. Like they make a real big deal about it.
Oh yeah, I'll probably be eating my words once someone says like, "Hey, we'll sponsor your show if you speak about us for a little bit." I don't know.
They make a complete mess of it. That's the thing. Like he's talking about Blue Apron and he's screaming at the top of his lungs like Blue Apron's the best fucking thing. Just goes way over the top. Really unfriendly to advertising. Like if you're not a fan of Dynamic Banter already, you would never.
The company would go, "No, this is bad PR" or something like that.
But they continue to do it because they just give them free reign.
Yeah, and I know a couple of podcasts who similarly put a lot of creative effort into their advertising. And it's usually a brand that that supports their show directly. Like they'll advertise the web hosting service that they use to host their podcast. So like there is like an element of just like self-sustaining.
Yeah. Well, there's a big difference there. Is if we started advertising for Coke, then that's fucking
I think there'd
shit.
be a moral
That's
issue
bad.
in that, you know what I mean?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So if we're... Because companies aren't inherently evil. Bigger companies perhaps are inherently evil.
They're not intrinsically, but there are a lot of companies that are operating quite evilly right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's up to the person who... like, it's unfortunate, but it is up to the person who needs to make a living off doing this. Then they should look into the advertiser before they take the money. They should see what they're all about and really know that they want to support them. And if they change their mind later, then they should feel comfortable backtracking and say, "Hey, I advertised this product. Turns out that was bad. I'm letting my viewers now know that this is how I feel about it." And you know, just constant transparency throughout all of it. And fuck them if the advertisers can't take that.
Yeah.
It's just all about honesty,
Well,
both from the advertisers and the artists
I will,
and the audience.
I will go to a great length to maintain honesty and being genuine as possible. And I don't know where I was going with that, but
if a company, all right, I'm recording with an AKG microphone. If AKG wants to sponsor this video, then this
they're alright.
podcast,
They've been pretty good.
Yeah, I'd probably take that. If Xbox wants an Xbox logo as our logo for some reason, they can suck on my balls because they make shitty products and I don't give a fuck about them.
And I like our logo.
I use their stuff all the time, but
I think
don't
our
like
logo is fucking
and I'm not
fantastic. I did make it.
Oh, I hear something. I heard now. I actually heard a thought before.
You heard a thought?
I heard a thought within my brain.
Yeah, right.
We were talking about optimism versus realism.
Yeah.
And we briefly touched on politics there about capitalism. Which I guess was what we're still talking about. We're still talking about capitalism in terms of advertising.
Yeah, I just want the struggle to be removed, man.
So, on YouTube, and we've discussed this in the past, but I've watched a lot more political YouTube channels and videos lately, and the comment sections are just the worst things that I've read in my life.
Someone gets a good idea, and then everyone copies that good idea. It's fucking outrageous the way comments work on YouTube.
And the good idea is usually like bad-mouthing somebody else. Is usually just derailing any good arguments that we give them. I'm really sorry.
You see those comments about like the situation in Europe?
Mm-hmm.
How people are just like saying that things are so terribly bad in Europe. The immigration is destroying it. I see these.
This is yeah.
No, you got something better to say probably.
Well, I was just gonna say this is my problem is there's all these, and I know I'm picking a fight with people in the comment sections on YouTube. Notoriously the worst fucking idea you could possibly do. But this does kind of spill over into the way people will talk in real life as well. People will have conversations with at work or whatever. So I guess this is an extreme version, I know, because YouTube comments are a safe space for arseholes, essentially, because you can basically be essentially anonymous. But so communism and socialism, mainly socialism, is becoming a lot more of a popular idea amongst the young people of today.
Yeah, if
and
they just make... Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, just constantly, it's shot down, though, by... I think it's other youth as well. I think it's
fallacies a lot of the time. Just total like people going like, "Oh yeah, just read this book and then you'll know."
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think that's what they expect from people who are into socialism. Like, so everyone thinks like, "Oh, you just read Marx's book, and now you just think we should all just be a socialist society." Have you ever heard of a communist Russia? See how it worked out for them. It's like, that's what's pissing me off. It's just like. Oh, no, the world tried it and it didn't work. Well, first of all, the world didn't try it to its fullest extent. There was a lot of other shit going on. But second of all, this is what I was talking about before, is we're not... Everyone who talks about socialism or any other kind of political view is not saying that we should... Well, probably some are, but my view of it would be that you don't have to say that we have to completely switch over to that system or to completely destroy everything that makes up our society to do so. It's simply seeing other systems and how they work and saying, well, clearly ours isn't working as perfectly as it could be. So certain aspects can change. You can just, it's not about flipping to one side or the other. It's not as simple as being left or right. There's a nice middle ground somewhere that works for people. And clearly things aren't working out in a purely capitalist society. You know, things can shift. We can change things a little bit. It doesn't have to be major, just a little bit. If there's a brighter future, it's not outrageous to look at these extremes and then work slowly towards a middle ground between those two.
And I think we've discussed this before, but having several different things simultaneously, like I don't see why if it's not illegal for people to set up a commune and then actually live like socialists, well, they should just be able to do that. And just because that means that they've subverted the capitalist system doesn't mean that it's illegal or like improper or that they should be shunned. Like, just allow people to live the way that they want to live, and you can live in your ultra-capitalist, non-aggression pact, anarcho-capitalist society. Like, you can live that way. All right, I'll live in my much more friendly way, where everyone gets what they need to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than like dangling carrots in front of them, going, "All right, you do this thing, I'll give you this carrot." And yeah, none of the dehumanization that stuff brings.
That's really a big one, isn't it? Is the dehumanization.
Oh yeah, you're scum unless you're making enough to live. Well, you're dead if you don't make enough to live. I mean, we don't really have people. I'm sure we have homeless people who like die overnight, like because they've just not eaten well for like several weeks, and they've just drank a little bit too much, and then, you know, they die of hypothermia that night or something like that. I'm sure it happens all the time. And it's totally unnecessary too. And like, I don't have a whole lot of wealth to protect the way that some people do, but even if overnight the system changed where, like, I don't know, I don't really exactly want to increase taxes or make them compulsory, but if somehow you could just sign up to a system where you're allowed to live, you got a basic allowance to live by, then maybe you pay a little bit extra tax if you ever get a job or something. You know, if the system supported you, you support the system. If you don't want that system, you don't have to support that system.
That's essentially the point of how tax brackets work. Is like the better you're doing, the better society does, which means you want to do better for your own personal gain, but that means that you helping society as well. But of course, that's not how it works when major corporations and rich people just get giant tax breaks for little to no reason, as far as the rest of us can tell.
It's to build incentive to become a humongous giant business.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
You want to talk about something silly?
Yeah, let's talk about something silly. Yeah. But just don't come down on people who are optimistic.
Yeah,
it's good to be optimistic.
No, I agree. Encourage them. Because even if during their moment of feeling really encouraged, they do something really silly and funny, at least they did something new and interesting.
We've all seen the person who goes like, "Oh, nothing matters," and all shit. No one wants to be that guy. Obviously,
some
it can
people
be a
love
bit
being
dangerous
that
to go
guy,
the other.
To be honest.
Well, fuck those guys then. All right, something silly. What's something silly?
Oh yeah. Let's see. Quokkas.
Quokkas?
Yeah.
What's a quokka?
Quokkas are an animal that. Let me just get up a little thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a bit of Google.
Yeah.
We're not talking about quackers. We're talking about quokkas.
Quokkas. Quokka. So they're found on small islands in Western Australia. And I saw an image today.
They're so freaking cute.
That explained basically because they live on islands with no natural predators, they have no instinct for survival by like running away. So that they're not afraid of anything. They don't have that fear of something eating them. So they're just completely docile, and like you can come up to them and pick them up and they'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I've got a thing here. Can you have quokkas as pets? Quokkas? Are they quokkas? Quokkas? They're... Oh, okay, so foxes and cats are starting to get them.
Oh.
Foxes and cats are getting into their territory. Thanks, the white man.
Yeah, what's up with cats, man?
So no, you can't have them as pets. Unfortunately.
If I wanted a pet, like an exotic pet, it would be an opossum from North America.
An opossum.
Yeah, they're the ones with the really ugly white faces with black eyes.
Oh yeah.
And they scream and like they don't have any survival mechanisms different from the quokka. That they can't run and hide or anything, so they just play dead. That's one of the things they do. They play dead. They bare their teeth and just like drool. So
charming.
Yeah, and so yeah, they get mistaken for having like rabies and stuff like that because they just lock up and then drool, and they bare their teeth so that like, you know, like on the off chance you're actually afraid of the amount of teeth they have or whatever. but yeah, they don't know what to do, so they just seize up and then play dead.
Are they actually? Do they have a problem with rabies, or is that a common misconception because of the way they act?
Their body temperature is too low apparently to sustain that disease.
Whoa! Oh boy!
Oh boy!
It's such a shame for like Miss what would you call it? Miss. Fuck! What's the word when you let me
misappropriate?
Misappropriate? No, that's not the word. People think worse of you for no real good reason. Underrated is a good one. You know, something like underrated, underappreciated. Any of those words. Defamation. I don't know. But people who think like that pigeons, and this one hits close to home. From pigeons. People who think pigeons are dirty little sky rats, just ain't true. Just ain't fucking true. They're a little dirty, but what isn't dirty? Dogs are fucking filthy.
Humans are filthy.
Fucking mongrels. Humans are disgusting, dude. There's just a fucking there's a basket next to my bed full of trash I haven't taken out in ages. It's filthy in here.
Filthy.
There's fucking cockroaches in my fucking kitchen trying to deal with that. That's my own dumb fault.
God, what a journey that they. Like you're on the 3rd or 4th floor of like a city building. Like how far have those cockroaches really come?
To tell you the truth, we brought them from our last place, so we got them just at the end as we were moving out. Just before we moved out, we got a small little thing going. I was like, fuck, I gotta deal with this.
Well, you're on the 2nd floor there as well, so
yeah, 3rd floor there. So
right,
they got up
the
to
travelers.
Fucking motherfuckers. Anyway, point is, humans are fucking disgusting. Dogs are fucking disgusting. What? Name one animal that isn't just fucking disgusting.
Cats.
Cats are pretty fucking gross though.
Yeah, they can be.
They're not.
I mean, they self-clean though. I chose them because pigeons. I chose cats because they clean themselves with their tongues, which is still actually incredibly gross.
Yes, that would be my least favorite activity. I mean, possums were used for obviously for communication. They were not possums, pigeons. Pigeons were the original mobile phone. Pigeon was the original iPhone.
It's the original telegram. Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs brought out the first iPigeon.
Yeah, right. Good on him.
Back in 1302.
Steve Jobs is an idol of Kanye West.
Yeah, cool, sweet.
As is Picasso.
Google.
And Nike. And Shakespeare. In the flesh.
All the greats. Steve Jobs has his place amongst the greats for sure. As much as he started a pretty shitty tech company in terms of like they do amazing things, but like they at the same I don't know, they're such a fucking, what do you call it, double-edged sword? No, not double-edged sword. They just have a real flip side to that company.
Yeah, same with Google. I think Google's one to look out for as far as corruption goes.
I've really liked Google in the last few years, mainly just because of the products that they bring out. So I really like. I've got the new Google Pixel 2, which I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, right. Is that the one where you have to press a button on the back?
Yeah, it's got the fingerprint reader.
Yeah, right.
On the back, which is great. It's honestly like the best place to put it, in my opinion. It's a little glitchy here and there, but you know, what are you gonna do? I really enjoy their browsers and emails and stuff like that. But then I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, I really love Google. Google's great. But now I'm just becoming a fanboy of Google. I've moved from fanboy of Apple, now I'm a fanboy of Google. But I should remember that it wasn't too long ago that Google was like getting in fucking hot water all the time for their amount of data collection on their customers and stuff like that.
Hot water that just sort of became warm. Like, people just stopped caring that much. They're still doing it, but people stopped.
Yeah, of course.
It's like people can only really sustain, like, dissatisfaction or, like, anger for a certain amount of time before they just give up. It's like...
Well, it's exhausting to be angry.
It's like the wildfires in California, which are still going. But, you know, what? After the initial report that, you know, with shocking imagery that people are like, whoa, it's serious. 2 weeks later... People are just like, it doesn't get enough airtime. Like, it doesn't... It doesn't get enough views or hits or whatever, so they just don't think it's hot news anymore. It's extremely hot news, though. It's burning news.
The burning question is, where did all this hot news go? People become desensitized.
That's when you play a soundbite of people screaming in pain.
Just to bring them back.
Yeah.
People become desensitized to that as well, though. It's troubling. Like, you get desensitized to gore, but you also get desensitized to news and shit like that. Philip DeFranco talks a lot about this on his channel at the moment, because there's so many allegations coming out against men that people are becoming desensitized to it. So they're just like, oh, here's another one. Here's another one.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is shitty. But his point is like, yeah, okay, I know you're tired of hearing about it, but if it keeps happening, you have to keep hearing about it.
Yeah,
that's just how the news works. Like, if something's wrong, we all got to fix it together.
Yeah, if everyone just collectively goes, what's new, and like ignores it, then you allow it to happen. It's like if we heard about what was happening in Germany during the Third Reich, and we all just went like, yeah, no, we know they do it. Like, it's no big surprise. Yeah,
it's like, how many years has Hitler been doing this? We get it, all right. We got other shit to worry. Well, they wouldn't have other shit to worry about. That's the thing. Like, that was a big deal. And perhaps it's a bit insensitive compared to. No, I'm never gonna. Don't worry about it.
There's nothing wrong with comparing things to the Holocaust.
Well, I was gonna, comparing all of this sexual allegations comparing to the Holocaust.
It's not even an exaggeration or distasteful either. It's like, it's one of the best things to compare anything to. Don't you think?
Perhaps
it's like a measuring
the optimist. It's the extreme. It's obviously not an optimistic view, but it's the same thing we're talking about. It's the extreme. Yeah. That's the thing. That's our measurement. We're like, okay, so what's the worst thing? Okay, well, World War II, fucking Nazis. That was the worst thing that's happened. What's the best thing that's happened?
Actually,
probably the
I don't know.
latest iPhone.
Not to be insensitive to the people who died during that time period, I don't think it's the worst thing that's ever happened.
There's been some pretty other bloody conflicts.
There's been genocides that are much bigger. And Russia lost a lot more people during that time period.
Obviously we're seeing it from a very Western point of view.
Yeah,
sure. But that's just anything. And unlike I was actually reading up about in India, Hitler is actually apparently really not as badly received. He's actually cited as very. They talk about him very highly.
Where is this?
In terms of in India, because they didn't have much of a role in the war at all. I don't think so. They look at him in terms of like his business leadership and his governmental leadership.
Yeah.
And then they kind of say like, okay, so he did really bad shit, but here's how he also pulled Germany out of the shit to get them to that point.
Oh yeah, I'm all in favor of figuring out what worked and what didn't.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a bit of a weird situation, there, right? But
it's such a hot topic. I even feel the heat while I'm saying this. But it's not like he did fuck up absolutely everything. But
a lot people seeing situations like that are seen.
I'll lash myself later to deal with the guilt. But He figured some shit out that we don't necessarily need to ignore.
Yeah, we shouldn't ignore everything.
We have
Medical
some
science jumped fucking leaps and bounds thanks to the Nazis.
So did like different sciences as well. Like it's.
It's in retrospect you can learn from shit, but obviously you never say like, well, it was all worth it. Obviously nothing was worth it. It was all fucking the worst.
The best way to deal with any tragedy is to learn from it.
It's like if it could be prevented, then that's the best case scenario. But it's like to just ignore it once it happened is almost worse than trying to get something out of it, trying to take as much as you can and almost taking the power away from it, you know? Fuck, what are we talking about? Jesus. Didn't want to go down that road. But we bloody did.
What do you think of Donald Trump?
Come on, man. Yeah, he's alright.
What do you think of his face?
What were we talking about just before the Nazis? Because I had something to go with that. I had a row. We were
we're talking about Donald Trump now. What do you think about his face? You think it's relevant to his politics the way his face looks?
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah.
You reckon
he's a face? That is his job. He's a talking head. He's just a character that unfortunately has power, and I think that's why people liked him, though. I mean, that's been greatly talked about. That's why people liked him. Damn it, we're going on to serious shit again. But nonetheless, people liked him just because he wasn't your general politician who just was this blank canvas of just like monotone bullshit. He was like this big flashy character. He was a cartoon character. Everyone was like, he doesn't talk that. No, I'm not gonna.
Still monotone bullshit, to be honest. But he gesticulates very fluently, I'd say.
It's entertaining and it's very clear. That's another thing. Is like when you listen to a politician talk, you don't know what the fuck's going on. But when Trump says something, you're like, what the fuck? I know exactly what you just said, and I'm not happy about it. Not on board with that, but I understood. Like you can go away from listening to a politician normally talk, and you have to think about it and go like, no, I think I disagree with what you just said. But Trump, as soon as he opens his mouth, the entire world just explodes into outrage. It's constant stimulus.
I guess the old. Whoa! What the
was that?
Fuck! That was a video on YouTube just starting randomly. I apologize.
That's quite alright. I thought it was goddamn lawnmower.
I wanted to say this one thing about old Trumpy. I think it's totally irrelevant, and this is why I asked you what you thought of his face. That you know when people try and make an argument about someone and they like attack the character and the appearance and do all of these just like irrelevant shit. Like if you disagree with a politician, disagree with what they're saying, the ideas that they're supporting and the bills that they want to pass. Don't just go, yeah, well he's also really ugly and he's fat and all of these things. It's like they're completely irrelevant and they actually make you look stupid. It's a weak debate topic and they should be like, they're topics that should be ignored. If someone's just getting off on just making fun of the way he looks because they don't like they don't want him to be president or whatever, they're like, well, I don't even want to listen to their opinion really, because it's like they rely on these really cheap tactics. In fact, it's stooping as low as Donald Trump himself.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually, yeah, it's like the most common tactic as well when it comes to arguing. It's like even like your mum jokes and shit like that, you know. It's like, I'm going to discredit you based on this totally irrelevant thing to your argument or your personality.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easy, and people get riled up about it. People jump on board. It's like, well, he's got a funny haircut, so how can he possibly have any good points to bring about the war in Syria?
He has fake hair, so you know, and he probably hates women, so.
I mean, like joking about those things is fine, but just not in that argument. Like if you're trying to have a serious argument, then don't bring it into it. Like if you're just making a skit about the way he talks, which is funny, and the way he looks, which is funny, that's fine. Do that, and I think that's totally fine. But then
but it's not a political debate.
His actual point, it's not a political debate. And this is exactly what happens in the YouTube comment section. Is like, oh well, you clearly didn't do this. Maybe you didn't read this book, and so therefore your argument is invalid. It's like that's not how that works. You can't. The argument it can stand without any influences, without any ideas behind it or anything. The argument, as stated, is what you're talking about. That's the argument that you're trying to debate.
Yeah.
So you need to ignore everything about the person talking about it. Just take on the information and try and see what you think of it. But that's not how the people work.
That's not how the people work.
Oh, no. Yeah.
New segment.
Do it.
Right.
Hang on. Don't we need new segment? Here we go.
Segment.
Say segment. Go. Fucking mess up our podcast.
What are your content picks of this week's podcast? So, anything new you've discovered over the past week? Anything you've watched? Anything you've listened to that really captured you or your attention?
Love it. Love this new segment. So it's just things we're enjoying.
Yeah.
Of any kind of content.
Yes.
Do we want? Yeah. It could be comedic, or it could be musical. Could be whatever.
Anything. It could be a documentary you watched recently that you really liked.
Okay. Well, listening. I'll talk about what I'm listening to.
Yeah.
To start with, at least.
Nice.
Let me think. Well, actually, okay. One thing is a new place I find music, which I found music from actually for years, but I found a new way to find it. Is listening to the Bandcamp weekly podcast, which they host themselves.
Oh wow!
On Bandcamp. And what is so fucking sick about it is you stick it on, you're giving it a listen. You're recording a podcast right now. You understand how podcasts work.
No.
You listen to podcast. You listen to their thing, their weekly thing, and you're having a listen. And then like, oh, this tune gets me moving.
Yeah.
And then you go onto you flick back over to the window, and it's
on the screen.
It's all set up so it's on the screen, and all the bio links are there, all their social links are there.
Great,
so it's like it's right there. So it's like, this track that only plays for maybe 30 seconds to a minute. That's perfect. I want that. And you jump over to that, and I think that's fucking sick.
Yeah.
So I found a couple of really good jazz albums from that, which is really good. Yeah, and that's another thing. There's a wide range of awesome music. So there you go. There's a hot take.
Bandcamp has the best jazz.
Bandcamp's just one of the best sites. It's
one of the best sites. It's got the best jazz.
I'm
doing a Trump impression.
I
think we promised it like a few podcasts ago, like maybe 5. We said we'd do a Trump impression. Well, Connor did. Connor, shout out to Connor. He listened to one of them, and he said to me,
we recorded like 18 of them. One person listened to one of them. That's all I need. That's all the inspiration I need.
We need Gary to come back, by the way.
I haven't heard him off for a while.
Yeah.
Perhaps the content has just been not up to scratch for him.
But anyway, during one of the podcasts, we said, I think I asked you to do a Trump impression, and you said, nah. And then Connor said he was deeply disappointed.
I just can't do impressions, man. It's not my...
I would really like it if you gave it a really quick try. I'll decide what you say, so you don't have to think about that.
Give me a topic to talk about.
Colombia.
Okay. Well, I'm stuttering too much already. See, I'm really good friends with Colombia. I'm the best friends with Colombia. Colombia and me, we've been friends the best of friends for as long as friends can be friends. And the talks that we have, some of the best talks that I've had today, have really solidified our relationship as our nations, two of the best nations. And we're going to really push forward with this new plan of mine. Alright, that's Matt.
Yeah, nice. We're gonna build a wall. It's gonna have a little gap right where Colombians can come through.
There's gonna be a small door.
We're gonna call it the Colombian Gap.
Because you know that Colombians are quite small, while Americans, some of the biggest people, we need big doors, but Colombians are small people.
You know,
some of the smallest people, and
you
they
know,
need
like
a small door.
stable doors where like the bottom half can open separate from the top half. There's a little Colombian second half of the door, bottom half of the door they can open. It will be in the wall. They'll be able to come through.
They will pay for.
They'll pay for the door. We won't pay
They'll pay for their
door.
half of the door, at least. The president, which I love the president, great man, fantastic man, he agreed to pay for half of the door. That's what he needs, is he needs an air horn on stage with him at all times.
Have you seen the Vic Berger remixes of his stuff?
No.
Well, that can be my top pick for this week.
Go.
A channel called Super Deluxe, which produces a ton of different content, so don't necessarily subscribe just because you like one thing.
Yeah.
But part of what they do these videos where he'll remix like Kanye West speeches and Trump speeches, so they're saying something totally different. Or like he'll exaggerate it, but he has air horns all the time. That's one of the punchlines essentially. Like whenever Trump like shows up, the crowd will cheer and people will just start blowing those air horns. It turns him into like it's like an entertainment. Like it's almost like how Trump sees himself and sees the way that politics works. It's like this big entertainment comedy show or something.
Yeah.
Because I mean he's
Trump's
lived inside
variety
TV
hour.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
Exactly. That's very fucking started.
Donald Trump Country Hour.
That'll be the best Donald Trump radio show where he just goes through all of his favorite country music of the day.
I'd love to
This has got some of the best yodeling, some of the best yodeling you've ever had. He goes up, he comes back down.
I'd love at least
really
a peek
at
at his top selections, like his top 100 of 2017 Spotify playlist.
His Spotify playlist. Because Obama had a Spotify playlist.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it was pretty good. So,
did you listen to a lot of Funkadelic?
Can't remember. There was
feel like
good variety of music.
I feel like you would like Funkadelic.
What would Trump listen to? What kind of music would he even listen to?
He'd be into the American classics. I reckon he'd listen to fucking John Denver or like Don McLean.
I reckon he would listen to there'll be a couple of Mexican tracks in there. And it's just
I absolutely doubt that.
I know, because he'd be saying like, no, I love Mexican people. I love Mexican culture. I have Mexican music in my Spotify playlist.
My gardener, he's Mexican.
I'm a friend of the black people. I have black people in my Spotify playlist. I listen to the Jay-Z's and I listen to the Kanye Wests, and I like what they're saying about me.
Yeah,
Except
but
they don't.
Are they liberals?
You reckon?
Do you reckon Kanye West and Jay-Z are liberal? It must be.
No idea.
It's very trendy to be a liberal.
Yeah, it's definitely not trendy to be
Republican or
conservative.
Republican.
Which is, I don't know, like that's been a big debate, is like people who are conservatives coming out and saying like, I'm scared to be a conservative now, I'm scared to hold these views, or like it's really unfashionable and you just get butchered for doing so. Which I mean,
literally get cut up for having different opinions. Seen it.
But it's like, how long has that been a thing compared to how bad was it to be a liberal back in the day? You know, like it's a pretty recent thing that it's fashionable to be on the left a little bit, you know? Like forever it was like, what, you're left? You're a communist. Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
That was basically the extent of the argument.
Which is just straw manning, really. Like
This is just what?
straw manning, like it's when you paint someone as something else just to discard their argument.
Right. That's what we were talking about before.
I think so. Say if I was just like, if you said, yeah, I think universal basic income is a good idea, and then I was just like, oh, so you're a fucking communist. Get out. I don't want to talk to you, communist motherfucker.
That's that it's again just it's like everything has to be so black and white, and this is kind of what we were talking about earlier.
In America, I think it has to be black and white.
I think it's here as well. I think it's probably a lot of places. It's just America is really vocal at the moment. But like even Australia has it, because like with the big debate over same-sex marriage, there was a whole bunch of people that was like fucking leftists destroying our goddamn country.
There was a really strong argument that people were having, saying priests' freedoms are going to be attacked.
That's fucking... Well, they don't have to do it.
Well, that's what I said. And they made a good point. This particular person I was talking to, they made a good point. The left, or at least like liberal people in general, they have this tendency to really like witch hunt. And you can have your, like, you could get kicked out of a church as a priest. You could probably get kicked out of a church because the local population all wrote nasty letters about you to that's true. The board, or whatever you call it, the council.
Well, this is the thing. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Basically, just being left isn't inherently bad, but yes, there's a lot of shitty left people, just as a lot of shitty right people, a lot of shitty Republicans, a lot of shitty fucking liberals, shitty whatevers. Yeah.
The extreme left are like witch hunting on the internet, but the extreme right are shooting up schools. So yeah. And like country music concerts. But
Jesus, man, that's a really light note to end on. It's essentially the moral of the story is just be rational, motherfuckers. Just chill the fuck out for a second.
Well, chilling is actually like more of an emotional thing, I think.
Just don't be outrageous. Don't be extreme. Just don't be extreme.
Yeah,
Everyone
don't be
can
extreme. Actually, that's a good way to put it. Like, just don't do everything to the extreme. Even good ideas, like way overdone, are just bad ideas. Yeah,
this almost everything is what's happening in the world right now in terms of like from our pretty chilled Western perspective over here, is everything that we're scared of, everything that's happening is just everybody going to the extreme of anything. Everyone's like, oh, fucking feminists are just destroying the internet, destroying everying. It's like, no, you're talking about the extreme feminists.
Yeah.
And the right wing, they're destroying our government. They're destroying our country. They're going to blow us all up, or they're going to form a militia and take us all down from the inside. No, that's, again, just an very extreme version. Fucking, it's just... The majority of people don't have that kind of energy and dramatic tendency to take it to that
organization.
Level.
Like,
most people
just not all mobilized that well.
I don't know. Yeah. You meet people. You meet your friends. Like you find friends that just like always take a situation to the extreme level, even if it's something as simple as like
comparing everything to the Holocaust.
They'll just blow it way. Those guys, you know,
or like
those people are one step away from forming a militia.
Or like I just came up with a really bad joke. Going to an Ariana Grande concert and then just blowing it way out of proportion.
And on that note, it's 4:30.
A bomb went off at one of her concerts
Yeah.
and killed a lot of people.
Well, what few listeners we had, they're gone. So thank you, Giles, and we'll be back next week to do it again.
To just scare people off.
It's been Coprolalia. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna. This has been a.
We gave people a mild Trump impression, so there's a lot to look forward to next week.
This is just the beginning, boys and girls, and small birds,
and in between, all the whole spectrum of gender.